There's a book publisher called Brave Books, okay? And they produce books that are titled things like Little Lives Matter, Hands Off My Coconut Cannon, or something like that. It's right-wing conservative Christian evangelical extremist propaganda for children. That's what it is. I've been going through a series where I'm reading a bunch of these books for children. The company was originally created by Kirk Cameron, Brave Books, or Brave Publishing, or whatever. I wanted to read one today, but before we read it, let me give a little introduction to explain why they're doing this and what it's all about. Check this clip out. This is Gene Bailey on the left. This is a TV show called Flashpoint, owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. Gene Bailey is the host. And this was said on the Valentine's Day episode 2023. Listen to this.
You know, when we look back on Hitler, Hitler went for the youth. The enemy always goes for the youth. We must take up arms and go for our youth, arms of the truth and of godly principles. But
that's why Brave Books has been producing books the way they have at an astonishing rate. And Donald Trump even shouted them out recently. So let's read some of these books that they made for children, some of these propagandistic, ridiculous books. See what they have to say. I wanted to read this book titled More Than Spots and Stripes. This one was written by the Hodgetwins. I don't think I've ever heard of them before, but apparently they're like far-right extremist commentators. Wow, it's a single word. The Hodgetwins, just Hodgetwins. It's like a title almost. Hodgetwins, also known as the Conservative Twins, are an American stand-up comedy and conservative political commentary duo consisting of twin brothers Keith and Kevin Hodge. They've literally just created like a title for themselves. That's just weird. So anyway, it's about critical race theory, supposedly, this book is, and it's designed for children. So let's give it a read. See what it has to say. Welcome to Freedom Island, home of the brave, where good battles evil and truth prevails. It's up to you to defend our great nation, save the animals of Ferenzi Park by completing the Brave Challenge at the end of the book. Okay. More Than Spots and Stripes. Ali Elzini did the art, apparently. Really pretty artwork. When Rebel was an itty-bitty cub, she used to go with her granny to watch the cheetahs run. As she watched, her heart beat eagerly, pitter-patter against her spots. One day, she would say to Granny, I'm going to race on the big track. So this is supposed to be about critical race theory, which is something that these people can't even define. So I'm 100% sure I'm going to have the opportunity to just shred their interpretation of it throughout the book. And look, there's an old cheetah licking a little cheetah. That's kind of cute, right? And all types of different... Apparently, these cheetahs like to sit in with the food they like to eat. That's, kind of took me by surprise, but okay. Really well-behaved cheetahs, apparently. Then Granny would give Rebel a kiss on the top of her head and say, if you work very hard, my dear, one day you will. When Rebel grew bigger, she joined Ferenzi Racing School. There, she met Maddie, her teammate, and they spent years practicing together. They learned to run and leap and sprint as fast as they could. More importantly, they learned that racing on the big track took very hard work. Rebel didn't mind because she knew hard work made her strong. What a name, Rebel. Interesting, okay. At the end of her last year at school, the best racers in all of Freedom Island came to visit. They planned to race Rebel and her classmates to show them what it was like on the big track. As Rebel waited for the race at the end of the week, she felt her heart beat nervously, but against her spots. Do spots have, pain sensory nerves or whatever in them? I thought spots were just a pattern on your fur, but okay. Let's keep reading. A striped cheetah named Bella, the most famous racer of all, gave a speech to help the students prepare. When striped cheetahs built Ferenzi Racetrack many years ago, they hated spotted cheetahs. As they ran, the stripes would throw banana peels to make the spots trip on the track. Okay. Rebel nodded, remembering Granny's stories of cheating striped cheetahs. So Rebel and Granny were spotted. They were spotted cheetahs, right? And the striped ones were throwing the banana peels down. So I guess in this scenario, the spotted cheetahs would be like the oppressed minority, and the striped ones would be the majority group, right? And Rebel is part of the minority group, okay? Even though stripes don't throw banana peels anymore, said Bella, every single striped cheetah still wants the spots to lose. The stripes are all still cheaters. Rebel cocked her head. If racers aren't breaking rules, how are they cheating? Okay, so what they're kind of calling out to here subtly is the idea of institutional or structural racism. These people have no idea what CRT actually is. Critical race theory is a graduate level class that you take in law school. That's a critical analysis lens for scholars to understand society in different ways. There's critical gender theory, there's critical race theory, there are all kinds of different critical types of theories to try to understand how different segments of society interact with each other. This is an academic exercise. Critical race theory is not something that you do as a normal individual member of society or whatever. They have no idea what they're talking about. Now, in reality, what they're referring to is institutional racism on this page here. Here's the thing about institutional racism. You don't have to have any racist actors anywhere in the system to have racist results, right? So every single person in the system can be left-leaning and progressive and inclusive and whatever, and it doesn't matter. You still have 3% black employees at a Walmart, as opposed to the representation that they make up in society, which is like 13-14%. That's a racist outcome that doesn't make any sense. What possible reason could there be for something like that happening? Hell, maybe there is a good explanation for this. Maybe the town you live in doesn't have very many black citizens in it. And as a result, Walmart has only hired a certain number of black employees. And that's fine. But the number of employees should be representative of roughly how many people live in that area, live in that town. That's what people strive for. Again, no racism needed. You don't have to be racist to get racist outcomes. You know why? Because there's an unconscious bias in there somewhere for everybody. There are unconscious biases in black people against white people. There are unconscious biases against black people in white people. This is how it works. We're human beings. We just have to recognize that this is a part of our psyche and try to correct for it. That's all. It's not a big deal. We're not calling anybody racist. We're not saying you're a racist for perpetuating blah, blah, blah. We're just saying we need to correct for it so that everything is fair. Everybody starts from a level playing field. That's it. This book is designed to propagandize and make white people feel like victims. It's intended to make white Christian evangelicals feel like they are the target of hate and victimization 24/7. It's just like this KKK Grand Wizard that I talked about not too long ago. The talking points we're about to read in this book are exact, direct copies of what this KKK Grand Wizard was saying all the way back in 1982.
Race, we believe that at this point in time that white Americans are being treated as second-class citizens, that the federal laws, the civil rights laws, have created a dual system of justice in this country, a set of federal laws that protects the interest of minorities and local and state laws.
But grand and imperial wisdom.
Is any of this sounding familiar? The political right in the United States, the Republican Party, has picked up on the talking points that the KKK was putting down for the past 50 years. The Republican Party of today is effectively the KKK of yesterday. So anyways, let's keep reading this. Pure, unadulterated Ku Klux Klan propaganda. That's really what we're listening to right now. Even those stripes don't throw banana peels anymore, said Bella. Every single striped cheetah still wants the spots to lose. The stripes are all still cheaters. Nobody says that. Like, nobody is claiming white people all want black people to lose and white people are cheaters. This is fabricated. Rebel cocked her head. If racers aren't breaking rules, how are they cheating? They just are, insisted Bella. Again, like I said, there doesn't have to be a racist actor anywhere in the system for there to be institutional racism. Like systemic, top-down results show that there's racism. Striped cheetahs created all the racing rules, so they will always find a way to cheat. Instead of practicing for the next race, Spots should tell everyone that the stripes are cheaters, and Stripes should give away all of their trophies. Nobody says this. Nobody believes this. No one wants white people to give away all their trophies and hang their head in shame and quit competing in anything. This whole scenario is made up. It's fabricated garbage that doesn't apply to the real world in any way. The next morning, when Maddie strolled outside for breakfast, Rebel stopped her, holding back tears. "Why are you cheating and trying to make spotted cheetahs like me lose? I thought we were friends, but Bella says you hate me." "Excuse me, I am not cheating," protested Maddie. "I'm your teammate, and your friend Bella is a liar, and if you believe her, you're as foolish as she is. If you don't trust me, you can find yourself another teammate." Okay, so, wait, where's Rebel? I thought Rebel was in this whole equation. Who's Maddie and Bella? Or who are Maddie and Bella? I'm kind of lost here. One is striped, one is spotted, but okay. For the rest of the week, the school was split. The spotted students stopped practicing to yell that the stripes made racing unfair. The striped cheetah students stopped practicing to yell that the spots were crybabies. Only the older, famous cheetahs continue to prepare for the big race. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is a fabricated problem. This does not exist. You know that, what's her name? Jennifer Aniston, Rachel from Friends back in the day, came out and said, Friends would be unacceptable today. The jokes that were made on Friends would be unacceptable. People would get too upset over them. What? Who is complaining about this? Who is yelling about Friends being unacceptable, racist, or bigoted, or whatever? I haven't heard a word about this. It's like they live in a fantasy land. The right and other people who think that they're being attacked 24/7, they live in another reality where everyone is out to get them 24/7. Friends was not offensive. It was just a snapshot of the jokes that were told at the time. You know, back in the 1950s, and I Love Lucy, didn't the guy used to joke about hitting his wife? I don't think he ever actually did he? Maybe. But it's like, yeah, obviously, like, society changes over time. We don't advocate for hitting our wives anymore. Or I wouldn't advocate for that. I guess maybe the Republican Party would. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Archie Bunker. Holy shit, dude. That TV show was fucking horrific. Racist jokes. And I'm talking like, you know, using the N-word or other really racist words for the black community all through it. Yeah, it's a snapshot of where society was at the time. No, I don't want any part of that. But Friends? Who's complaining about Friends? They constantly live in like a state of being victimized, where they are always being targeted by like people who hate them and all this stuff. This is nuts. They're portraying in this book, you know, the black community protesting because they're being mistreated because for no reason. I mean, they're not citing a reason. They're just mistreated because there used to be racism, but there's not racism anymore. No, that's not happening. That's not the source of any of this stuff. They fundamentally don't even understand the problem, seemingly, do they? The conservatives, the Hodgetwins, they don't seem to understand anything at all. The honeymooners. Okay, they used to make jokes about hitting their wives. Okay. Been a while since I've seen any of that stuff. Right to the moon. Yeah, that's it. I remember now. The honeymooners. I don't find TV shows from the 30s very funny anymore. Or the 40s or 50s or 60s, honestly. Some 70s stuff is pretty funny. Some 80s stuff, some 90s stuff's pretty good. As you move through time, it gets better and better because they were snapshots of the moment in cultural history that they were from. These people, the conservatives, they just live in a state of constant victimization. Constant. Yeah, it's almost like culture changes, right? Emily Neptune? Like, bizarre. The striped cheetah students stopped practicing to yell that the spots were crybabies. Only the older, famous cheetahs continue to prepare for the big race. I mean, if I've shown absolutely nothing else on my channel up to this point, it should be that we're repeating the same exact tropes today, the same exact arguments that we were 50 years ago, right? The KKK Grand Wizard was giving us arguments that are currently being argued right now in front of the Supreme Court. 50 years ago, he was giving these arguments. 1982, 40 years. Nothing changes. Ultimately, it's just a new target. They realize it was not really politically advantageous to attack the black community anymore, to advocate for segregation. They switched to the LGBT community. They realize that it may not be politically advantageous to argue that the LGBT community shouldn't have rights. Switch to just the T community, the trans community. Attack anybody you can. Lesbians, gays, trans, Jews, anybody, any minority group you can get your hands on. Attack them. When the students finally ran against the famous racers, not a single one did well. After a week of not practicing, they huffed and puffed down the track. By the time they made it to the final lap, they were tired and slow. Rebel came in last, and she was sure it was all Maddie's fault. Right, because black people just aren't trying. They've given up trying. They don't care anymore. They just want everything to be handed to them, right? That's the point they're trying to portray in this book. We shouldn't have to try. We should just have everything handed to us. They might as well come out and call them lazy. That's the point of this. That's the point they're trying to convey here. Yeah, it's the lazy black people trope. I don't know anything about the Hodgetwins, but just from what I can tell, they seem like the biggest scumbags alive. And I've met some pretty big ones. This is bad. Rebel pouted on the way back to the locker until she heard a familiar voice. My plan has worked. Even though I am old and slower than these young cheetahs, my words distracted them from training because they're no longer working hard. We won today, and we will win the Ferenzi 53. The Ferenzi 53 was the biggest race of the year, and Rebel had dreamed her whole life of winning it. But Bella was right. If Rebel didn't keep working hard, she would never win the Ferenzi 53. Sprinting back to the track, Rebel found her friend, Maddie. I'm sorry, I blamed you for cheating when you hadn't done anything wrong. I forgive you, said Maddie, giving Rebel a hug. And I'm sorry, too. I should have listened to you and realized you were hurt. This is for children. This is for kids. And we are reading anti-black propaganda, spreading the trope that black people are lazy and everything. This is absolutely nuts. This is absolutely nuts. From then on, Rebel and Maddie didn't join their classmates in the yelling, but practiced every day. Right, so don't complain. Just shut the fuck up and do what you do and ignore all of the injustices, the systemic injustices that people suffer every day. Ignore it. There are objectively, unequivocally, injustices in the system. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be the result of anybody's whatever. No one has to be racist in the system anywhere to get racist results. They are saying that we shouldn't try to solve the problem. We shouldn't even bother. And instead of trying to examine the issue and solve it, they're telling people to stop being lazy, shut up, and get to work. This is nuts, dude. Rebel realized she would win or lose by the choices she made, not whether she had spots or stripes. That's simply objectively false, though. In this system, there is racism. Intentional or not. There is racism in the system, and it needs to be corrected for. It's not a big deal. We can solve it. Not even that hard. But look at sentencing disparities in the justice system. Look at hiring disparities between men and women or white and black. This is the exact same argument. Exact same argument. Listen to this. This is the KKK Grand Wizard, 1982, November 4th, presenting this exact argument that we're reading in this book. This exact argument.
And I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people. And there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now. And we're asking for an end to that.
Look, I'm against reverse discrimination.
Dude, it's the exact same stuff recycled. The Republican Party of today is the KKK of yesterday. I'm telling you. That should be disturbing to everybody. Just reading this book should prevent everybody from ever voting Republican again after realizing what they're voting for. Rebel realized she would win or lose by choices she made, not whether she had spots or stripes, and from now on, she would choose her friends based on how they treated her. Wow, that's a subtle message to only pick conservative friends. Fascinating. She and Maddie ran and leapt and sprinted together, and most importantly, they learned to love and help each other again. Now that Rebel and Maddie finished racing school, it was time for the Ferenzi 53. Bang! Vroom! They run, apparently. This is sideways. Oh, and somebody throws a banana. Someone actually throws a banana. A striped cheetah threw one. So there are actually injustices in the system happening, and some of them are even intentional, is what they're portraying here, right? Rebel recovered from the banana peel nimbly, strong from weeks of practice with Maddie. Racing around the last turn, she and Bella strained neck and neck toward the finish line. Stretching and reaching, Rebel jumped. Hooray! So Rebel won despite the fact that there were injustices. Okay? So I guess the message is fight anyways. Fight through the injustices. Well, guess what? People are fighting through the injustices. These people seem to think that black people are just lazy and they don't want to work. That's the message being portrayed here, that they're just lazy. And they're saying, stop being lazy and get to it. I don't care if there are injustices. That's the message of this book. The point is they want people to fight through the injustices and stop being lazy. But if we just witnessed somebody throw a banana peel, why can't we stop that? Why can't we stand up and yell about it? Quit it. Stop throwing banana peels. Get some guards on the track to make sure this doesn't happen anymore. Why can't we do something like that? Why are they complaining about the idea that people want to stop injustices? This is ass backwards. This whole thing is ass backwards. Like, from beginning to end, they're approaching this from the wrong direction entirely. They're defending structural power. They're defending money and institutional power and throwing people under the bus, even though they seem to acknowledge in this last page here that there are injustices taking place. Insane. Friends, Rebel announced, we can never win by hating and blaming each other. Even though stripes have hurt me and other spots, we can't fix anything by hurting them back and calling them names. Remember what they said. Remember what the KKK said from 1982?
And there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now.
This is KKK propaganda that they're giving to kids, that is being advertised for children. Advertised, I might add, on cable television by Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland, Kirk Cameron, Ray Comfort. Let's go through the list. Who else is advertising this book? This is written by the Hodgetwins. They're not nobodies. Shia Raichik, the Libs of TikTok account, advertised this. Donald Trump advertised it. Sean Spicer advertised it. Steven Crowder advertised it. Michael Flynn, Bethany Hamilton, Sheriff Mark Lamb, Trent Talbot. I'm just listing the people who wrote books for them. Dinesh D'Souza. There are, like, just about every major political influencer on the right has written a book for these people and advertised for them. Donald Trump didn't write a book for them, but he advertised for them. KKK propaganda. KKK propaganda being advertised to children. We are more than our spots and stripes. Let's focus on the choices we make because we're all cheetahs after all. We can do both. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. We can focus on more than who we are. We can focus on the choices we make. We can also fight institutional structural racism. They want us to not focus on the fact that there is institutional racism and zero in on the idea that black people are lazy. That's what they're trying to get people to do here. Insane. Insane. The crowd nodded. They knew they were wrong. From then on, the cheetahs stopped listening to Bella's lies and chose to love and help each other instead. Word of Rebel's speech spread all across Freedom Island, and one day she received a mysterious letter. This is how it ends in every one of these episodes. Dear Rebel, for the hurting, love takes more courage than hate. Your determination to seek peace in Ferenczi Park shows that you love justice more than revenge. Freedom Island needs animals like you to protect it from anger. Right, so you shouldn't be upset over the fact that there are gross injustices happening to people right now. You should just accept it and move on with your life. Genius. For what it's worth, this sounds exactly like Jehovah's Witnesses saying, don't get involved politically, move on with your life, ignore it, pretend it's not happening. What kind of ridiculous advice is that? Ignore injustice, move on with your life? Really? Don't get involved? Is that the message they're giving to children now? As a matter of fact, it is. If you're willing to defend our dear island, answer the call. Journey to Wizard's Way by the first day of fall. Hurry, so many animals are falling into hate. Anticipating your speedy arrival, the legends of Freedom Island. Again, this isn't about hate. This isn't hating anybody for anything. This is straight, unadulterated KKK propaganda being sold to children.
We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people, and there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right.
And not only that, that's just one of the guy's arguments. Listen to this argument the KKK Grand Wizard gave in 1982.
Are you fed up, it says here, with
This propaganda from the KKK was being passed out to school children back in the 80s.
fed up, it says here, with blacks following you home, trying to beat you up.
That's
Do you
right.
deny that you said that?
No, I don't. And let me tell you, that happens more times in America than what you can shake a stick at.
Blacks?
No, it's completely made up. Of course, it was all made up. It was made up back then. It's made up now. But this is the exact idea that's being conveyed in this book. So many animals are falling into hate. No, this is completely fabricated, entirely. This is not happening. They live in a fantasy where they're a victim 24/7. Black people do not hate white people like that. Black people are not attacking white people on their way home from school or whatever. Like, where are their heads? This book is pure, unadulterated Ku Klux Klan propaganda, plain and simple. All right, let's read the little section at the end where they give you like objectives and games to kind of drill the point home, because there's a lot of subtext in this book, subtext that children may not necessarily pick up. So let's see what they had to say in the end of the book to try to communicate the points more succinctly. In this Brave challenge, Team Brave will compete against Team Bella to earn points. At the end, if Team Brave has earned more points than Bella, they've won the Ferenzi 53. Okay, the Hodgetwins. Kevin and Keith Hodge are conservative political commentators and popular influencers who have spent their career using humor to bring awareness to issues such as dangers of critical race theory. It's completely made up. They help Brave Books write the story and the Brave Challenge, and they'll be popping in to give you ideas on how to explain these concepts to your child. Hi, parents. We hope your family has a great time during the Brave Challenge and makes all kinds of gains. Makes all kinds of gains, okay. Critical race theory. This is their definition. Before I read it, again, let me, reiterate. Critical race theory is a graduate level, you have to be in school for 6 years before you reach this point where you would even take a class on this. And it's a class that helps you see society through another lens in an effort to see other perspectives and find solutions that are amicable to everybody. There's critical gender theory, there's critical race theory, there are a bunch of different critical theories. It's just an analytical lens. That's it. It's not about hating anybody for anything or whatever. So here's their definition of it. A theory claiming that a person's worth and social power is largely decided by his or her race, defining some racial groups as oppressed and others as oppressors. They claim that the system of oppression is inherent in the American social and political structures. Often, white activists promote CRT trying to defend minorities. I've never, in my entire life, ever heard a white activist promote CRT in any context. CRT, again, is just a critical analysis lens that is used to come to conclusions or find solutions to certain problems on a graduate level in colleges. That's it. Now, as far as this bit right here, the system of oppression is inherent in the American social and political structures. It is. It is. It's not even intentional. Like I said, there can be no racism anywhere in the system, and you'll still find racist results. Hell, maybe it's the black people's fault. It's not, but let's take that step. Let's just assume that. Fine. It's their fault. There are still outcomes that are unfavorable that we can fix. We can address as a society. Why are they opposed to us trying to correct it and make it more equal, more fair for everybody? Why are they so obsessed with black people picking themselves up by their bootstraps and white people just going about their day and not giving a shit what the black people are doing? Why? This is like being opposed to immigration. Why are you opposed to immigration? Immigration is so phenomenally, insanely good for an economy. Do you have any idea what China would do to have a bigger economy or a larger base of purchasers and sellers? Do you have any idea the steps China is taking right now to grow their birth rate? It's absolutely ridiculous. They just gave all students a week off to find somebody to fall in love with recently because they want to grow their birth rate. And why is that? Because when population grows, an economy grows. You get more powerful the more purchasers and sellers you have in an economy. Why are we not opening the floodgates to immigration? That is an instant solution to a lot of problems. Immigration is so ridiculously good for an economy. Why aren't we opening the floodgates? You know why? I'll tell you why. Because the KKK has seamlessly intertwined their political beliefs with the Republican Party. There is no good reason to deny immigration into the U.S. The only reason is bigotry, hatred, prejudice. That's it. There's no other reason to deny people entry. The KKK of yesterday is the Republican Party of today. All right, so here's the lesson they want you to learn from this little game here. Granny or Bella says, it's important to listen to trustworthy people. Team Brave stands in a line. When the parent says things like, Granny says, touch your nose, Team Brave must follow the instruction. When parents say things like, Bella says, touch your toes, Team Brave should not listen to her. Okay, pretty standard game. I think this is just a reworking of a game that's existed for a long time. Except they're trying to work racist undertones into it. Okay. Parents say, Granny says, touch your nose, blah, blah, blah. Here's the talk about it section. Parents can think of other silly commands to keep the game going. This brave tip is off center. Okay, here's the talk about it section where they try to really drill in this propaganda. Remember how Granny and Bella each interacted with Rebel in the story. Why would you want to listen to Granny and not Bella? What makes someone trustworthy? Why is it important to listen to someone trustworthy like Granny? This sounds like them trying to turn children against the outside world and kind of coercing or pressuring them into trusting their grandparent, who is most likely the one reading this book to them, and most likely going to be the right-wing extremist in the family. They're trying to convince kids to listen to them instead of anybody else. It's subtle, but it's there, and that's the nature of propaganda. If it's so obvious that it's impossible to miss, it's not very good propaganda. It needs to be subtle most of the time. Hodgetwins suggest, I love how they refer to themselves as like a single entity. Just bizarre, dude. Hodgetwins suggest having someone you can trust or confide in is extremely important. You know they're there for you and want to see you grow and succeed, so you don't have to question their motives when getting advice from them. And Granny is that person. Wow. That's just a disturbing thing to put in a book that is very obviously designed to propagandize to children. You should be questioning the motives of the person reading this book to you. And they are intentionally trying to shut down that red flag system in kids' heads. That is some shit, man. Game 2. The lesson is learn to listen closely. So here's here's the talk about it section. I'm not going to bother with the instructions. Why was listening carefully important in this game? Why is listening important in your life, at home, at school, or with friends? Do you think that there are people like Bella who want to trick you into believing lies? Absolutely. The Hodgetwins. The KKK. The person reading this book to their children. Yeah, I would say so. If you hear something that might be a lie, what should you do? Who should you tell about it? The person reading this book to them, of course. This is disturbing, dude. In the book, Bella said that striped cheetahs should give their trophies to the spotted runners. Do you think this is fair? Why? Nobody has ever suggested white people give their trophies or whatever to black people. Like, what are they even talking about? Is this like an argument against reparations? I'm actually in favor of reparations. They were promised 40 acres and a mule, and they never got it. And this country was built on the backs of slave labor. Pay the families for this. I could even see an argument for that. That's in the past. The people alive today didn't build this country the way that their ancestors did. I could see that argument. But you know what? It's almost like, imagine a game of Monopoly. The black people weren't allowed to own property until not even that long ago, 100 years ago, when the white people were going around the board collecting $200 when they passed go and buying up every property they hit from the 1700s until the 1900s, when black people were allowed to start their go around the board. And as a result, white people in the country have amassed ridiculous amounts of generational wealth, and the black community has almost none. You know that there's a single black woman that's a billionaire? Oprah. It's Oprah. How many black billionaires are there? Any? Other than Oprah? Of the nearly 3,000 billionaires in the world, only 14 of them are black. That's fewer than 1%. Of those 14, only 2 are women. 8 are Americans. Eight billionaires in the world. 8 black billionaires are Americans. Apparently, there are a lot of like African/South African billionaires who made a lot of money off of mining and stuff like that. But in the United States, we've got Mo Ibrahim, 1.8 billion. Mike Adenuga, I don't know who that is, $2 billion. Oprah Winfrey, $2.7 billion. Bob Johnson, I don't know who that is. Jay-Z is one of them. Tyler Perry is one of them. LeBron James. Yeah, I think it's mostly like singers or basketball players, seems like. This list isn't really giving me specific to the U.S., but I'm just kind of glancing through, and that's who I saw. So anyways, almost no black billionaires is the point. Almost no black millionaires. There's almost zero generational wealth to be had in the black community. So anyway, let's keep reading this. The point that they were making here, Bella said that striped cheetahs should give their trophies to spotted runners. I think they were trying to say reparations is bad. Well, I simply disagree. I'm sorry. It's kind of the topic of debate, but give them reparations. Give them the equivalent of what they were promised at the very least. At the very least. You know that slave owners were compensated when they were freed? They paid slave owners to free the slaves. Why didn't the slaves get compensation? All right, this is Game 3, banana peel alert. Objective, it's the lap of the Ferenzi 53 and the race... it's the last lap of the Ferenzi 53 and the race is too close to call. Bella is determined to win and will do anything to get the upper hand, even if it involves throwing banana peels or paper balls at Team Brave to slow you down. So you're supposed to run and get balls thrown at you, apparently. Here's the talk about it section. Did you have to work hard to run in place during the whole game and dodge every paper ball? What was the result of working so hard? So I guess they're saying if you work hard, you can overcome anything. That's simply untrue, but okay. Can you think of a time where you received or earned something because you worked hard for it? For example, earning good grades or saving up for a new bike. I guess they're trying to say that black people just don't work hard, and that's the problem. If black people worked hard, then they would succeed like white people do. Is that what they're trying to communicate? That's what I'm picking up here. What's more important, working hard or looking a certain way? What? Let's say your parents wanted to hire someone to fix a clogged toilet in your house. Is it better that they find someone who knows their stuff and works hard, or find someone that has red hair to do it? Well, for what it's worth, I don't know where that's coming from or why they're even mentioning it, but pretty privilege is most definitely a thing. Attractive people are like way, way more likely to take a position or to get a job or to whatever than traditionally ugly people. Where did this even come from? I don't know, but they're just denying reality here. It shows up in statistics. You personally may not care on a personal level if somebody is pretty or not, but pretty privilege shows up in statistics clear as day. Tall privilege shows up in statistics too, for what it's worth. I forget what percentage of CEOs are over 6 feet tall. It is a crazy high number. Why is it important to work hard? What do you think could happen to the person that doesn't work hard? So they're just saying black people are lazy is all. Different perspectives are always good to have, but when you have a job that needs to be done, you want someone that can do it with excellence. Oh, so they're saying diversity is pointless. Don't bother with diversity. Nobody cares. So this is the anti-affirmative action argument, right? This is the exact argument the KKK gave back in 1982. Exact word-for-word argument.
And I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people. And there is no question about it. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now. And we're asking for an end to that.
Look,
That's crazy, right? It's so crazy to hear a guy in a hood, a grand wizard of the KKK, in a hood and everything in 1982, presenting the same arguments that are being presented in a children's book in 2023. That is crazy. Here's the summary. This is the end. There are people like Bella that are trying to convince others that the color of their skin is what makes them who they are. We know that how you look on the outside does not determine who you are on the inside. Oh, wow. Okay, you know what? I misread this. I got the impression... Wow, dude. Holy shit. Did I misunderstand something that they said? I think I did. Okay, wow. I misunderstood point number 3. They said, what's more important, working hard or looking a certain way? For example, let's say your parents wanted to hire someone to fix a clog in your house. I misunderstood. I thought they were talking about pretty privilege. I was so confused how that related back to this conversation. They framed it in a way that it made it seem like they were saying, you know, pretty people versus ugly people. Holy shit, dude. I don't know why my mind did not connect the dots that they were talking about white and black in that one sentence. My mistake. Wow, dude. Just the fact that that undertone was there for me to pick up on is mind-blowing. There are people like Bella that are trying to convince others that the color of their skin is what makes them who they are. We know that how you look on the outside does not determine who you are on the inside. Showing love to others is the most important. Who you are is so much more than the color of your skin, just like the cheetahs are more than their spots and stripes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Everybody agrees with that. But we can see in statistics racism turn up. Whether there's a conscious racist actor in the system or not. Doesn't need to be. The people in the system can be completely above board and all about inclusion and love and diversity and all of it. And there can still be racism present. Unconscious racism. We have to account for that. Why is that so controversial? You know why? You know why it's controversial? Because the Republican Party of today is the KKK of yesterday. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. This just blew me away, man.